Kevin Danna some stuff. Kevin, I know you're on the line right now. It's FP, it's Shasky, and we're just kind of like going over the All-Star game over the weekend. Before we get to what happened in this particular All-Star game thing, when I hear your call the other day, I'm driving down Geary after baseball practice, and I got kids in the car, and all of a sudden I hear the GP2 for 2 dunk. I stopped at the light, pulled out the phone, texted you on the spot, and I said, dude, I freaking love you. Like, did you just come up with that organically, or you been trying to hit that particular note?
Well, I appreciate that, Shasky. And no, something like that is completely unscripted. I mean, like, I really try not to write anything down or say, I want to get these phrases in, though I will say, like, there are times where I'm like, yeah, I'd like to use this phrase. If I could get it in, great. But for the most part, it's just kind of whatever comes to me in the moment. Because, if I'm trying to load up calls in my head, too many calls in my head, then I feel like it messes with me.
What advice would you give a young play-by-play guy? What is the most important thing that you would tell somebody that's just getting into it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, FP. I guess, like, for me, what I try to do is just prep my tail off, watch as many games as I can till, like, I know what each player looks like. It'd be different for baseball because they're wearing helmets and stuff. But basketball, you can tell, like, a body shape of a player if you just kind of watch. You do that. I have my charts. I go through my prep, to, like, write everything down as far as not, like, what I want to say, but, like, information on each player. I have these sheets of legal paper, 8.5 by 14. That's just filled with information on each player and each team, each coach or each head coach. And then, so I do all that prep. So then when the game comes, just kind of roll the ball on the court, if you will, and just let it rip and just go. So there's nothing scripted once the game happens. And once the game happens, I just try to react and not think. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Just react to what you see and not try to, like, think of how you want to say it. Just let it happen naturally. And that just comes with years. Like, I didn't feel really comfortable in my skin broadcasting until I was 31, and I'd been doing it, since I was 22 at that point. So, like, it just took years and years of reps, but you get there eventually.
Dude, when I first started as an analyst on TV every day, I was worried about what the players were thinking, what the wives were thinking, what the fans were thinking, what the ownership was thinking. And the reason I'm bringing this up, right, nobody cares, is the reason I'm bringing this up, I wrote let it rip on my scorecard. And once I did that, let it rip, and I didn't give a crap what anybody thought, I felt like I became a better broadcaster, or it became easier for me. And you start to get in your own head and worry about what everybody's thinking, and then just let it go, bro. And it seems like you do that. So very refreshing to hear your takes. I haven't listened to a whole game, but damn, dude, you got a bright future. Keep it up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, all right. So, Kevin, let's get right into the All-Star game over the weekend. I mean, you're a big NBA honch, like all of us, and you're watching this. This is supposed to be the showcase of the league. Now, I'm not expecting them to compete like it's the Super Bowl the week prior. Like, I'm not that naive. I also don't expect them to compete like it's a regular season game or any of that. Like, come on, I'm being realistic here. But just in general, skills competition, three-point, the dunk. I mean, maybe the three-point shootout with Steph and Sabrina saved the weekend. That might be a little strong, but I thought it was a great moment. I just feel like in general, the league has got to be more self-aware of where they're at right now and cognizant of the perpetuating image, which is the players don't care, whether it's the regular season, the All-Star game, etc. So why should the fans care? And I felt like this weekend, man, I'm worried about next year with the Warriors hosting at Chase Center.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't a fantastic product by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I did kind of start dozing off a little bit in the third quarter. Now I was laying down on my couch. But, like, I mean, on one hand, it is cool to see a team put up 211 points. But if that team is putting up 211 points because they're able to walk down the floor and just lay it in or dunk it every time when they're not attempting 97 threes, like, yeah, it obviously loses its luster. I mean, I don't know. If we're going to go gimmicky and stuff, I'm bringing this up because I literally just saw this online. The VTB United League, that's like Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, teams that play in that area of the world. They have one hoop set up 20 feet from the basket and another one like right above the regular hoop. If you make it in the 6-meter hoop, the 20-foot hoop, you get 6 points. I mean, if we want to do something like that,
Rocky Jock.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Might as well try something. It looked cool. I just watched this highlight. I don't know. Something needs to change. But like, if guys aren't going to care enough to play an ounce of defense, then maybe you just lean into them not caring and do something way out of the box.
But yeah, you get a stuffed animal if you make it in the top one, and a carny runs out on the court with small hands and gives you the stuffed animal.
And then tries to get another $10 out of you and make you shoot it again.
And next week the game will be at a different parking lot.
Yes, exactly.
No, but seriously though, Kevin, what would you do? What would you do if you're the commissioner to get more interest in the All-Star Game? Or is it just the All-Star Game is a dinosaur in any sport and there's no way to fix any of them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, in general, it's tough for me to watch games that don't count towards anything. I think there's a lot of cool stuff around All-Star Weekend. Like, I mean, yes, the dunk contest needs to improve. I thought Stephen Sabrina was the best thing of Saturday night. I was not a big fan of the skills competition. But I do think it's cool to have, like, the rookies and sophomores. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch the game. But, like, I do like that concept of rookie-sophomore game, the rising stars playing. Maybe, I mean, I know Anthony Edwards said that there's not enough non-Americans to have an American versus the World All-Star Game. I would watch that. I think that would be cool. And like, maybe if there are a couple of guys who are fringe All-Stars that make it for, for the non-American team, I would still watch that. I think there's enough talent outside of the United States, from Canada, Europe, and Africa, to make something like that happen. That, I think, would be interesting. But outside of that, I don't really have many ideas. I'm more of a let's get to the regular season and play again kind of guy, because that's the stuff I'm really interested in.
All right, so let's pivot to the Warriors here. The Warriors right now are in 10th place. I mean, they're in the box, 27 and 26. I thought if I was going to give them a letter grade, I would say a B-/C+. I want to see what ends up happening, from here on out when it comes to the rotations. Does Kuminga continue to ascend? And I think the Kuminga ascension is really what saved them this year. How would you assess their first half, and what would the letter grade be that you would assign them?
I mean, B-/C+ sounds about right, because they did get off to the 6-2 start, which you'd have to give an A, maybe an A+. Then there was like the next 30 games of the season where it wasn't very good, which you'd probably have to give somewhere in the D to D+ range. And then they've been a lot better as of late, which you'd probably give like an A- or something. But it can't be an A or A+ when you blow the lead against the Clippers. And then, I mean, that would be the big one to me out of this recent stretch, where that would keep it from it being a straight A or better. So I think probably B- is around there. As far as my letter grade, that's what I would give them. Look, I'm looking at the standings right now. They're 5 games out of 6th. I don't know how doable that is. I think at the very least you want to try to reach for 8th, but even that is 3.5 games away. But I would want to get into the top 8 so you get at least 2 cracks at getting into the playoffs.
Klay with 727 starts comes off the bench for the first time. He absolutely balls out. It seems like he's embracing this role. Do you think this is something Steve Kerr's going to stick with? If this is the recipe for success, starting pods, Klay coming off the bench? Or do you think Klay is motivated now and he's going to find his way back into the starting lineup?
Well, Steve did say after the game in Salt Lake City on Thursday that Klay's going to be coming off the bench. He didn't say it was permanent, but he made it sound like at least the next game Pods is going to start and Klay's going to come off the bench. And I'm not saying Klay's going to score 35 off the bench every time. Obviously, he won't. That's just not sustainable. But like, if he can be kind of like your reliable scorer off the bench, I think that'd be a really good role to have him in. He mentioned Manu Ginobili and kind of thinking about his career arc and how Manu is going to be a Hall of Famer and no one's like going to worry about whether he started or come off the bench. Like, if he can finish more than he has been recently, instead of being the starter, but if he could finish, like, I think that's more important. and he certainly earned the chance to finish on Thursday night. And like I said, he's not going to hit 7 threes every game, but if he could be a more reliable bench option for Golden State, I think that would be a really good thing for the Warriors to have a Hall of Famer coming off your bench who, while it certainly has been a really down year for him compared to the rest of his career, like if he's still getting 17 points per game and 37 to 38% 3-point shooting, like those are pretty good numbers. It's just like compared to everything else he does, then yeah, it doesn't look as good coming from Klay, but I'll take that from a guy who's in my rotation any day of the week.
All right, Kevin, on the way out the door, Joe Lacob said this, and I want you to react a minute or less if you believe him or you do not. Listen to what he said.
I do. I'm actually very positive, probably more positive than some fans might be, or the media. And look, I get it. We haven't really overall played all that well this year. I think Steve would tell you that, and our players would tell you that, and Mike would tell you that. But I still think maybe I'm delusional a little bit, but I believe in this roster and these players and our coaching staff. And I really believe that we can make a big run here. And it just turns out that, right before the trade deadline, magically that's happening because of a couple things that happened. I mean, Draymond's suspension, as he said in the press conference, in his comments the other day, ironically, may have long-term made us better in an odd sort of way, because JK got to get the leash taken off and play, and he's been fantastic. He's just been tremendous. He is a monster. If he continues to play like this, which I think he will, and get better, at 21 years old, his future is unlimited. You add that to Andrew Wiggins, being unlocked with this new lineup, and we knew he wouldn't. I didn't think he would stay playing like that. And our two rookies have been tremendous. I really got to give our credit to all of our scouts and Mike and Kirk and all those guys and Kent. We nailed it in this draft.
Do you think they can win a 5th title with this roster?
I think they got a chance to compete for a 5th title, and I'll say that because of this. Last year they went 44-38 and went to the second round of the playoffs, and really they were a Lonnie Walker heater away from forcing a Game 7 against the Lakers, which you'd get at home, and then who knows what happens in that game. I know that's a very optimistic outlook of what happened last year against the Lakers, but I think this year's team is better than last year's team. The record might not show it now. That's why my goal has been at least 45 wins for this team since the season kind of gone south, just to show that they're better than last year's team. I think they're deeper this year. There's obviously more trust in Jonathan Kuminga, who's taken that big leap. I do think Moses Moody is going to get back in the rotation. It's just that he's been coming off an injury, and Lester Quinones had been playing so well in those 15 to 18 minutes that it had kind of pushed Moody out for the time being. But he's going to find a way to get back in the rotation. You're going to get CP3 back. I think they have enough to compete. Now, I would like them to avoid the Clippers and the Nuggets in the first round, and so it's I think it is matchup dependent. I do think like the Nuggets and Clippers would give the Golden State a very tough time, but if you can get one of these teams that haven't had playoff success in the first round, kind of like Sacramento last year, and I do think Minnesota and Oklahoma City are much more powerful than the 3rd seed Kings from 2023, but get them in a playoff series with all the vets that Golden State has, I do think anything can happen in a series like that, and if you get some luck along the way, look, this team knows how to compete in the playoffs. They've proven it time and time again. Like, I'm not saying I would take the Warriors against the field, but I would be very hesitant to bet against Golden State if they can get into the dance and they continue to play the way they do. I think they have a chance. Now, I just think it kind of depends on where the rest of the teams lie.
Kevin, I love you. Thank you for coming on, but I just want you to know, for broadcasts, that works, sitting on the fence. In radio, sports talk in the morning, it's no way in hell can they win it all, or absolutely they can. All right, my friend?
Well, absolutely they can.
There we go. I'll see you soon, Kev. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kevin Danna does the G League for the Warriors, sometimes gets elevated up to the big chair for Tim Roy.